Hello and welcome. I'm Amritanshu Rai and you're watching Law of the Land on Raj Sabha TV. Today we bring to you the Merchant Shipping Bill 2016. To discuss the issue, I have with me Mr. V.K. Mishra, Advocate, Supreme Court, and Master Mariner, Saujanya Sinha. He's also a captain. Now for the highlights. The bill provides for registration of all sea-going vessels. Seafarers to receive wages even while they are being held in captivity. And the Merchant Shipping Bill proposes to constitute a National Shipping Board and a Shipping Development Fund. The Merchant Shipping Bill 2016 simplifies the existing regulatory framework. It proposes to create new registration categories to promote Indian shipping sector. It also sets up a welfare board for the seafarers. Once this law comes into force, all the other laws like merchant shipping law and coasting vessels law will stand repealed.
Due to the several amendments in the merchant shipping law in the recent years, the merchant shipping law has become bulky and complicated. The proposed bill shortens the existing 560 provisions to half that number. The merchant shipping industry across the world has evolved over the years and the regulatory framework needs to be competitive. In order to promote ease of doing business and to meet up to international standards, the government felt the need to restructure the law.
So earlier there was no such provisions existing in the Act. And now this present Act seeks to streamline registration of Indian vessels and also registration of Indian vessels in other countries subject to certain conditions. Earlier there was no separate provision for coastal shipping vessels and containment of marine pollution, which have been brought in now.
The Merchant Shipping Bill 2016 allows registration of all sea-going vessels, including certain residuary category of vessels which were not included in previous statute. The bill allows substantially owned vessels and vessels chartered on bareboat charter cum demise contract by Indian entities to be registered as Indian flagged vessels. This will be done to recognize Indian controlled tonnage as separate category. It simplifies and consolidates the rule for survey, inspection and certification of vessels which had become complex over the years. It also provides for monitoring of maritime education by allowing grant of certificates or imparting quality education to prospective seafarers and to facilitate Indian seafarers to work on board vessels with respective certificate and qualification.
New provisions have consolidated the old provisions which were lying around in different bills. So the first thing is the survey and the certification of the vessels, which was lying various parts. Now they have been all consolidated. So it's easy for a company like us to implement and easy to refer when we have any changes. And the second thing which is there in the bill is about the insurance part of the seafarers. Initially, some companies as a good practices were insuring the seafarers, some companies were not employing. But the moment now it has become a law, both of them have to do it, so it gives a level playing field for both the companies.
The provisions for survey, inspection and certification of vessels which were distributed across various parts of the existing law have now been organized and placed together to provide for a simplified regime for convenience of Indian shipping industry. The bill was introduced in the Lok Sabha on December 16, 2016 by the Minister of State for Shipping P. Radhakrishnan.
To promote ease of doing business, transparency and effective delivery of services in the merchant shipping industry, the bill omits certain redundant provisions and simplifies rest of the provisions. The revamped version of the law will simplify governing of merchant shipping industry in the country. With cameraman Santosh, Dipali Pandit for Rajya Sabha Television.
The proposed bill includes several things and has evolved substantially, but does not provide for inclusion of ship management systems. Now, Captain Sinha, the first point I would like you to clear the whole thing about is shipping management entities? Who are they and why have they not been included, and why should they be included under this legislation?
Sir, I'd just like to very briefly touch upon the background. The ship management concept started about 40 years ago, where ship owners used to give the day-to-day management of the ship to a certain company, and they came to be known as the ship managers or the ship management company. But the registered ownership remained with the actual owner of the ship. Now, if we come back to the case of India, we do not have any Indian ship management companies. With the result, all the ship management companies which are existing, and a lot of Indian seafarers are working on them, they all have their manning offices here. Now, coming to your question, the coverage and the security from the Indian seafarers' point of view, it is rather indirect. It's a good job that the Directorate General of Shipping has ensured the concept of implementation of the RPSL, which is the Recruitment and Placement Service license, that you have to prove your credibility before you get the license to recruit Indian seafarers to serve on for the principals. But the point is, if the principal ship owning company, which is based abroad, is at default, the liability of the manning office is very, very limited, as applicable only into the RPSL company. What I personally feel is that the 100% liability should extend to the owner, actually. Not
Principals abroad.
Principals abroad, not just limited to the manning company, which is, as a starting point, the concept of RPSL is very good, and I'm very strongly supportive of it. And the Directorate General of Shipping is doing a good job in taking out notices.
But the ambit should increase to
include
the principals abroad.
Yes.
So and this is for the benefit of the Indian seafarers who are employed with such entities in India.
Absolutely.
Owned by foreign companies.
Ownership owned by foreign companies. Yes.
And that is why you think this should be included
in it,
so that it is for the betterment of the Indian seafarers.
And not only betterment, it will provide the final loop of security for the Indian seafarers.
Correct. Now, sir, you bring in most of the seafarers, give them a lot of protection and security, and you create a level playing field for all the entities. Why do you think has the government actually missed out on including this? Do you think there is a reason, or do you think there is a licensing issue which takes care of this whole shipping management entities?
No, I think it has not been done for the last 20 years. It has not been done in a manner other places, other issues has been dealt with. Here, now the government has come forward to provide all these things. Then there should be one thing more, that it should be, suppose somebody is having some problems. So how they can, there must be a forum where they can approach, because in law, if somebody has some issue, grievances, he should approach to an appropriate forum. So for that purpose, government has to be provide something in this area.
Law to include them,
include that, so that our governance system, our judicial system can cut hold, as Mr. Mr. Captain has said, that the foreign owner should come into, and they will be liable to
ambit.
Yeah.
As of now, sir, Captain Sinha, how has it been working? So, what is the, let's say, accountability of these management systems as of now, which are based in India, but the principals are abroad? It is for foreign entities who are based abroad. And how does the system as of now works as far as the policy is concerned? And what is the major complaints of the Indian seafarers who are part of that shipping management entities?
Sir, again, I would like to come back to the system of RPSL, the recruitment and placement services licenses. The manning office representing the foreign principal, the owners in India, they not only have to provide a monetary guarantee with the Directorate General of Shipping, which runs into lakhs, and I'll come to that what is the reason for that. Plus, they have to ensure the infrastructural credibility before they are able to get the license, so that the Indian seafarers can actually get the proper employment. And to ensure that Indian seafarers do not go through the fly-by-night operators and to get duped, and they go through the RPSL system, what the government very rightly has done, that if a seafarer does not go through an RPSL registered company, then whatever sea time he is gaining on board the ship, which is a requirement for him to appear for his exams, will not be counted.
Okay.
So that's a very positive thing, that, okay, he should himself become aware that there is something called as RPSL. It is for my benefit.
Are there also entities which are not licensed?
Yes.
And that is where the problem is.
That's where because there are still non-RPSL companies which, well,
are transacting business.
Yes, dichotomically, they are successful in duping a large number of seafarers.
And the DG Shipping doesn't have the wherewithal to do anything about them.
No, I'll not say that. DG Shipping is doing a wonderful job, but let's face it, these are the weeds which need to be eradicated completely.
Completely.
And they will further be eradicated, which I personally feel, if the liability of the direct owner comes into play. That after all, these non-RPSL companies are also placing the seafarer on a ship owned by XYZ.
Right.
And that person has zero liability. And this person, not licensed, he says, okay, I don't have a liability.
So, my point to you is, does the registration which has now been made mandatory, will that be able to bring the principle on record? Because without registration, you can't work.
Yes.
Now, as a principle, if you file a registration, then you are already accountable. Does that solve the problem?
No. At the moment, the way the situation stands today, the liability only rests with the RPSL company, not with the owners. And my suggestion...
Is that so, sir? Is that so?
That's true.
And my suggestion is that...
So the principle is not included.
Obtaining registration is not come with bring the owners in the ambit of that system.
Liability.
Sir, it's time for us to enter into a break. When we return, we will talk about the provisions granting wages to the seafarers held in captivity. Welcome back. The Merchant Shipping Bill proposes to constitute a high-powered national shipping board and a shipping development fund to provide for the registration of Indian ships and to propose simplification of law relating to merchant shipping.
To ensure that old and redundant provisions of the law are replaced with the current provisions, the bill consolidates and amends the laws relating to merchant shipping. Bill attempts to ensure compliance with India's obligation under the international conventions and maritime treaties with which India is associated. It also tries to ensure the efficient maintenance of Indian mercantile marine in a manner best suited to serve the national interest.
I think the government could have done a little more towards the welfare of the seafarers in terms of their taxes, because seafaring community or seafaring profession by nature is not a regular landlubber's job. It is difficult, it is different, and the government should have looked into this aspect of the seafarers where a lot of hardship goes in. They are away from their home, it's difficult environment, working environment, and they generate revenue for the country also in terms of dollars. So there should have been some better tax regime for the seafarers.
The bill proposes welfare measures for seafarers. Seafarers held in hostage captivity of pirates will receive wages till they are released. It will be mandatory for owners of vessels to take insurance of crew engaged on vessels including fishing, sailing without mechanical means of propulsion, and whose net tonnage is less than 15. The requirement of signing of articles of agreement by the crew before shipping master will no longer be necessary. Provisions to be made for security-related aspects with respect to vessels, which will enable identification and ensure coastal security. The bill provides to give effect to 7 conventions of International Maritime Organization: the Intervention Convention 1969, the Search and Rescue Convention 1979, the Annex 6 to International Convention on Prevention of Pollution from Ships, the Convention for Control and Management of Ships' Ballast Water and Sediments 2004, the Salvage Convention 1989, and the International Convention for Bunker Oil Pollution Damage 2001.
I think it's a very good step because seafarers were often ignored, especially the fact when we saw Indian seafarers being stranded in places like Somalia and they were not paid wages by some of the companies. And even after when they came back from the captivity, after a lot of, their families were left wanting for money. So I think it's a very good step forward in that direction.
The bill seeks to provision for progressive changes including increased tonnage under Indian flag, increase the share of Indian seafarers, enhance the safety and security of vessels and life at sea, prevent marine pollution, provide maritime liabilities and compensations, and to develop Indian coastal shipping and trade.
India is one of the largest merchant shipping fleet amongst the developing countries, as 90% of its trade by volume is done by sea. The bill seeks to ensure effective maintenance of Indian mercantile marine to serve national standards. The bill also attempts to comply with international conventions and maritime treaties to which India is a party. With cameraman Santosh, Dipali Pandit for Rajya Sabha Television.
Seafarers' welfare is a big step forward in this bill, which goes on to include and give protection to most of the seafarers, which was not the case earlier, which means now they will have insurance, they will be paid even if they are held in captivity, and several other measures. Sir, I would like to know from you, how does this change the system in favor of the Indian seafarer?
Certainly, it's now it's going to affect and safeguard the interest of seafarers, as it was not earlier, because if the rules earlier there was no rule as such. And one thing more I wanted to point out, that so far as seafarers' wages are concerned, there need to be done something more in this bill. So because earlier even in nowadays there is a lot of difference between wages of country like we developing country and wages of other developed countries. But there must be some sort of, not we can say a fair, because wages are different types. There are living wages, fair wages, minimum wages. We as of now not in the position to provide. We are trying to provide, but we need to provide more than minimum wages for seafarers who are used to not only in this country, but there are other places also they used to stay there. So they have to be taken care of in the form of better wages.
Right,
like
sir. So you would like to add to that, sir?
Sir, if we come to the concept of basic wages, it's a tripartite agreement between the government of the flag state where the ship is registered, the ship owner, and the union existing in that country. What is decided upon is the basic wages, and that is governed by the existing system in that country. And it has got nothing to do with the nationality of the seafarer per se.
Correct.
Although I have also gone through this and it is very frustrating, but we need to understand the ambit of law under which this whole concept comes. So, when the basic wages are set, what the government of that flag state can only ensure that the ship owner is not cutting corners in actually providing the basic wages, what has been agreed upon in the tripartite agreement. But most of the ship owners, they go over and above that, which in any case ends up being less than, let's say, an European national earning that. What is argued is that, okay, the cost of living index is different between developing country A and a developed country B. That's a very big debatable issue, and trying to tie that with a single thread, well, we'll have to, it's a point of discussion, it's a moot point. So
basically, it is not within the means of an Indian policy to bind a foreign agency to which is not an Indian flagship, Indian flag ship,
Yes.
and a foreign flagship, it is. So it is very difficult to bind them to a basic minimum salary that they are giving to their own
Absolutely,
sailors.
absolutely, sir.
So-
I mean, the government of India, through law and policies out of question, has absolutely no control over this.
And also, that probably is also the unique point of the Indian seafarer, because since he is available for a reasonably less amount of money, so he is more competitive in the job market as far as the...
That is one reason, but over the years, I'd like to quote the former Secretary General of IMO, Rear Admiral Mitropoulos, in November 2010. He had made a blatant declaration which, quote unquote, in inverted commas, was on the cover page of majority of international shipping journals, and he had said, Indian seafarers are best in the world. It is no doubt for Indian seafarers to feel very proud of this because it has come from the highest authority, but they are best in the world because of their professionalism and not because of they function in English or they are working for competitive wages. No, it is because of their professionalism that we are very well sought after.
Right. I'll take also the integrated maritime policy. Now, that is, as of now, as Sir earlier mentioned, that there are several entities which are related to mercantile shipping, merchant shipping in this country. And these departments are scattered all across the government, central government. So there is someone who's on the water resources, there's someone on the looking into the environment, there's someone who's looking into labor wages, there's someone looking into the social welfare. So there is no consolidated, someone else looking into the foreign aspect, commerce aspect. So merchant shipping, the way it is, has got several departments and ministries managing a figment here and there. So there is no, I mean, they are not under one big umbrella. My point is, does this bill, through the National Shipping Board, create that umbrella for all these entities to sit together and then take policy decisions?
I think yes. I think to some extent this is a good initiative by the governments, like to bring all those agencies and departments and ministry under the same umbrella. So for instance, take the example of insurance. The government has set up insurance regulatory authorities, and this is binding on all. They are issuing, they are issuing guidelines and time to time review the policy, make the policy, rule, regulation. So I think so that this board is going to work in a manner as we are thinking of this as umbrella.
Umbrella organization.
And it will have a impact on that. And moreover, they will make a rule also to regulate the things, and things will, these are the, now we are started developing. Evolving this thing.
Right.
It may come out in the future, we have a better.
Captain, do you feel that this National Shipping Board takes care of one of the major issues that was affecting the development of merchant shipping?
Sir, I'd like to express my disagreement here. What the government has proposed, very good that it's called the National Shipping Board. But what I feel, as you mentioned, that there are different fragments working in different line ministries. To bring them together, National Shipping Board will not fit the bill. Because mercantile marine is one very important sector, but let's face it, limiting it to shipping per se is one thing, and talking about an integrated marine or maritime policy is separate thing, which is what I want to suggest. So instead of the National Shipping Board, if we have the National Marine Board, because just to give you an example, what are the line ministries which are actually involved in the ocean governance in India? It is Ministry of Shipping, it is Ministry of Water Resources, it is Ministry of Environment, you have the Department of Ocean Development as part of Ministry of Science and Technology, and to some extent a small thing, Ministry of External Affairs, where I personally feel the involvement should be more. And these offhand I can mention. all of this cannot be brought under the so-called umbrella of a national shipping board, because that will focus on only on mercantile marine. Development of mercantile policy in India, yes, which as over before this, sir and I, we were discussing that is to a large extent being governed and taken care of by Ministry of Commerce. But the point is, India is a very big player in the Indian subcontinent, and we have a very distinct land India and a very distinct maritime India. As what I'm trying to suggest is, as a next step, the government should seriously look into an integrated marine policy, not maritime, because maritime tends to focus only on shipping. Marine will encompass the Indian Ocean, that part of it.
So you are talking of the entire resource assessment and utilization of the marine part.
Yes, because
so right from dredging to fishing to shipping to management of water to environment. So that is the policy that you're talking of.
Because all these ministries are in any case connected, but not under an umbrella. And when you're suggesting of an umbrella, the National Shipping Board is not going to be that umbrella.
Got it. It's time for us to move on. My colleague Dipali Pandit spoke to Advocate Rahul Dhawan, Managing Partner, Lex Chambers.
Do you think the current provisions will help India meet international standards of shipping?
Yes, in fact, as I said previously, the statement of object and reason specifies 7 different international conventions, which is what they are wanting to be in sync with. So if you really read those 7 conventions, they are all different conventions with respect to safety and security, on air pollution, on salvage, on wreck, on seafarers. So those are all international conventions. Those are broad guidelines. So what the central government is trying to do is they're trying to put in the current bill, the current proposed act, to be in line with those international standards.
What will be the overall impact of this bill?
The bill is a significant development from the government for the simple reason that the government is looking at putting this industry on a higher pedestal by looking at 7 international conventions which is looking to follow apart from the others. The conventions are of different nature, starting from safety and security, wreck and salvage, air pollution, so on and so forth. So the bill puts into perspective what international norms are being followed by other countries, and therefore we feel that this will be very helpful in the coming time for the particular industry.
Thank you, sir, for joining us on this discussion. It's time for us to end the show. You can email your suggestions and comments to law.rstv@gmail.com. You can also watch our shows on the RSTV page of YouTube. We'll be back with a new issue and a new episode. Keep watching Raj Sabha TV.